Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, the Red Raiders put a thumping on West Virginia, the likes of which they hadn't seen since just this side of the Civil War. Look it up. We talk key achievements. We talk key injuries and all other things involved as Tech goes flex mode in Morgantown.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Now the number one sports podcast network in the world. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you again, and great to have you back in God's country after a quick trip to Morgantown, West Virginia, where we saw a mauling of the Mountaineers at the hands of the Red Raiders to finish out the regular season. When they're talking about the worst loss since just after they said we're good on the Civil War, you know it's been a significant day for the visitor, and that's what happened for Texas Tech in a 49-0 shellacking of West Virginia. John Denver resides in the 806. We'll get to all the things involved in this game, Chris, including a couple of guys that may have represented a bit of a glimpse of the future of Texas Tech football. God only knows. That could be a risky venture thinking about years to come. But also, of course, want to discuss what we saw Friday to Saturday and how there was a possibility you could see a bit of a shifting mindset, I guess, given some of the circumstances in the league that we'd already seen sort of set in stone by the time you kick things off. But just to begin our conversation, Chris, what a day for the Red Raiders. No letdown whatsoever. And you finished with one of your stoutest and most complete performances of the year. Had many asking me, I haven't asked you Saturday morning, any chance Behen's day or schedule's been adjusted? And all of a sudden, statistically, he says, no, I'll have one of my most prolific days of the year. So, yeah, that's the big finish regular season-wise, and definitely went down smooth back in the 806. How was it from your vantage?
Yeah, we will get into kind of the thought maybe in the next episode about kind of what this means, bigger picture than just the immediate. But it was a weird dynamic. This is it's a long flight home, my man. I mean, a long flight home. It was that is just the trickiest trip in the Big 12 Conference for Texas Tech anyways, because the airport is 45 minutes away from the stadium and it's not easy to get there, and it's kind of one lane road and all that stuff, and it's just it's a long ways out there, okay? And it's cold typically, and so you just weren't sure what the vibe was going to be. And I know Joey was worried about it Saturday morning. I mean, he admitted as much, and I think that he felt like his team would handle it, but he wasn't. You're just not real sure, and you're not real sure what the other guy is going to do either. Because see, the thing about West Virginia is, they have been playing hard. They have arguably been playing their best football in the last month. And you can see it, that they are trying. That this isn't a team that's mailed it in and has quit or anything like that. They're trying. And they go for it on fourth down about as much as any team as you've seen. They also blitz more on defense about as much as any team that you have seen. So when you start factoring all those kinds of things, you're just not sure how the thing will play out. And you're thinking to yourself, we just need to play our normal game. We don't need to take a bunch of chances. We just need to kind of do our thing. So what does all that equal? Well, the other guy's going to try to force the action, make something happen. And it's 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. And then my immediate concern is like, okay, first mission accomplished, but now don't hit this lull. Don't let us sit here, look up in the middle of the third quarter. It's now 21-17, and you kind of took the foot off the gas. But this team is just different, man. This team has solidified itself as it's not the best yet, but it's in the conversation, and you can never take that away, just because they are.
You're talking in program history.
Yes, the school's history since 1925.
Short list, top 5, top 3, top 2. I don't know, somewhere like that.
Yep, and they now granted the college football season changed 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was, where you have 12 regular season games now, and so but this is only the second team that's ever had 11 regular season wins to this point. The only other one was 2008. Pretty good company there, but that team, they had no hardware. There was nothing for them to, other than a win over Texas. There was no bowl win. There was no division championship. There was no opportunity to play for a conference championship. There was no BCS entry. There was just no, it just kind of left you wanting more. And this team has now put itself in position to win all kinds of hardware, including all of the hardware, if we want to get right to it. And, but Behren deserves his flowers after yesterday. I thought, because in his own world, 2 years ago, he went there, and that's what kind of was part of the start of his injury issues with that AC shoulder sprain, and that he played through it, and it would just cause some problems, and really throughout. I guess if you want to be technical, I guess he's still dealing with them at some level, or that's the surgery that required and all that. But it started in Morgantown, West Virginia, after Tyler Shuck had fractured his ankle. And I was glad to see him play well. He played arguably his best game all year. And he got hit a couple times to where I got a little concerned. And you please get up. Let's not do this movie again. And he did, and he was fine, and he was smiling. So much so that he had his earpiece in and the big parka over his shoulder pads I guess in between the third and fourth quarter. And I happened to be in close proximity to him when they started playing Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline, and the few fans that were still in the stands, they let their favorite school down the road, Pitt, know how much they love them with the lyrics. Yeah. And Behren thought it was hysterical. I was like, this kid, Behren deserves this, man. Played a hell of a game, over 300 yards. Just dropped some dimes down the field, and it was a lot of fun. But so many guys. I mean, Terrence Carter, feed him till he burps is what I said on the broadcast, and it was a heavy Terrence Carter game, and he just produced. I mean, he was kind of an extension of the run game to a certain extent, Cowan, and Cam Dickey goes over 1,000 yards on the season. Bryce Pollock, Big 12 leader in interceptions with his 5th. Amir Boyd continued to show up with his deal. It's just, I don't know. It's so well-rounded, and West Virginia just didn't have much of an answer at all. And they kept trying. They tried 3 different quarterbacks. They tried tempo. They went for it on 4th down twice, did not get it. They were getting cheered when they would get a first down. That's how lopsided this game was.
1891. You're seeing that on the scrolling ticker at the bottom of the screen all day yesterday. I mean, there's been a lot of football played in Morgantown, West Virginia since 1891, Chris. But the Red Raiders just gave them their worst one since then. So we didn't even come along for about another 30, 40 years as a football program after that, or you probably would have had a worse one sooner. So sorry on us for waiting so long. But, yeah, just amazing to see some of the individual days. And it's amazing to leave the first quarter, and I'm already thinking about style points. Like, I sort of thought coming out of halftime, mid-third, like that's when I'm thinking, like, all right, how do we make the call here with Behren or other guys to continue to try to really light up the scoreboard or whatever? But no, it was leaving the first quarter. I'm thinking, okay, so we're already in flex mode. And I'm already wondering about, like, the rest of Behren Morton's day and yada, yada, yada. But to wind up, before we talk about the dynamic there, to wind up with those 2 backs that you already mentioned, and Cameron Dickey and Jacoby Williams, both as top 10 guys nationally, sort of in their respective fields. And they both wind up at number 10, by the way, which is sort of strange, but nonetheless, among Power 4 backs, Cameron Dickey, 10th leading national rusher, Jacoby Williams, 10th leading all-purpose man. You could not have asked for more. And I know there's a really good guy out there that never even put on the jersey that we can dream about what he would have brought, but you really could not ask for more, I don't think, from what you got from those guys, Chris. And they finished it in a big, big way. It's hard to think about 1,000-yard rusher being a prediction for this year coming into the season.
Yeah, and I had somebody before the game tell me, we were trying to put some of this into context. This is before the game, mind you, but he was like, he goes, I mean, Quentin had beaten these guys out. He'd beaten these guys out. So you haven't even really seen what this was supposed to be. And Quentin intends to come back. And again, we've talked about, what level he'll be at, but you're just, we talked about the strength of your team and these kinds of things in the off season about what this group would be. Well, I can already tell you next year that'll be a strength of your team is the ability to run the football and smash people right in the mouth and from all different directions. You'll have a bit of everything sprinkled in, and now experience to go with it.
Yeah, do we even keep any wide receivers on the roster next year, you think, or just go RBs across?
Oh, yeah. I hope you keep Reggie Virgil on the roster. So we'll get into that, mid-December whenever they pass that ruling or don't, I guess. But, I just –
Cameron and Jacoby.
Yeah, and like Jacoby's run to – I think that was one of those – third quarter touchdowns where he just he jukes and it joysticks it and he just squirted in the end of the end zone there. But the second drive of the game, the second scoring drive of the game, you went 16 plays, and this is when I was like, okay, they're on it today because there's no penalties, there's no shenanigans. 16 play drive and you end up throwing it to back of the end zone to Cam Dickey. But then the drive, because it's 28-0, and I think you're trying to go for the dagger there, and you got too cute with Jacob Rodriguez and letting him throw the football. He just threw it to the wrong tight end. That was totally on him. Joey kind of had some fun with it after the game, and even with me at halftime, he's like, hey, he is human. So we have determined that he is human. John Carlos Miller was the intended target, or supposed to be. It went to, I think, in Carter's direction. Miller was wide open. It was just a hiccup, and Jacobs like it. But so it's 28-0, and I don't know if you're worried that the game is if you're kind of in put it away mode because you're really trying to get your quarterback out. Let's just be honest. You're trying to get it to a point where like, okay, let's squeeze them. Let's just put this thing so far out of reach that we can get some of our people out, namely our quarterback. And you have 3 in your back pocket, at least, but you throw the interception, Jacob does, and then you go in and you're just kind of wondering about momentum a little bit there. But then you come right out of the locker room, man, and you throw I think it was a 50-yard pass or so. It was either to Douglas or Virgil right on your sideline, and then you ended up scoring couple plays later, and then it's 35-0, and that was impressive to me because it was intentional. You're like trying to get it to a point to where you could go let Behren put on his parka and his earpiece and call it a day, and others as well. And we'll get into some of the pieces that didn't finish the game or kind of got dinged up a little bit, and that's that's really one of the big storylines from this one. But it was just a dominating win, and your style points, your margin of victory raises. Your defensive, I mean, they had 180 total yards in the game, and a bulk of those was like a 25 to 30 yard carry late in the game when you had your second and third string guys in there.
Yeah, they had me checking in the second half on just the century mark total for an offense total. I was that interested because I'd seen it at halftime. I'm thinking, is there a chance where you put these guys in double digits and that's it for the day? So I was actually kind of following along with that in the second half. But I'm curious to ask you about the Friday to Saturday kind of dynamic because, look, we all know a part of this conversation is the flexing aspect or the margin of victory and trying to really, really brush up that resume for the college football playoff selection committee. So you're headed to Arlington by the time you're kicking it off. You've got that in the bag in some form, but you've also got this other resume aspect, big picture wise. And then you got the fact that we're competitors. We're here to play football. We're here to win big, and we're not putting on jogging suits just because we've already got things clinched. And that's why you told me when I asked you about a quarterback Saturday morning, 0% chance that you're making any changes or anything like that with availability. So how would you describe, being with the team like you are as well, kind of the dynamic or how Coach McGuire and his staff handled that part of the convo? Everybody knows it going into it, but whatever they did obviously worked, and setting up still a very kind of like on the edge frame of mind. It seemed like you kept the edge. First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app, so before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. How would you describe, being with the team like you are as well, kind of the dynamic, or how Coach McGuire and his staff handled that part of the convo? Everybody knows it going into it, but whatever they did obviously worked, and setting up still a very kind of like on the edge frame of mind. It seemed like you kept the edge.
Yeah, it is weird. It's a weird way to clinch a spot to Arlington. Everybody's laying down in a hotel room at like 1:30 in the morning, East Coast time, in Morgantown, West Virginia, or Bridgeport, West Virginia, I guess it would be. And that's when you find out, okay, you've done it. All your goals to this point that you can accomplish are done. Now you've got more to go, but you have to get there. And so it was just kind of anticlimactic in a way. Because it was all resulted on the Arizona State game, and I'm watching the half of that game, and the first half, and Arizona largely dominated, but they missing field goals. They're fumbling it on the 5-yard line. They're just there. And I thought, okay, this, I don't know how this is going to go. And they ended up just kind of leaning on them in the second half. And that's ultimately what solidifies the title game, because it punched the ticket for Texas Tech and BYU. And I think Joey's not naive. He knows his guys are going to see that and be aware of it. I don't think it's really anything that they talked about aloud, even though everybody knows. And because the thing is, Cowan, like, and we'll get into this maybe in more length or whatever in tomorrow morning's episode, but there's some thought that if you won this game, you may be in anyway, like in the big one, right? And so I think that these kids, this really is a mature team. It's not just lip service. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying that, but I had so many of them tell me last week, and we played all that audio on the broadcast, that this 1-0 thing that this coach of ours is telling us, we really believe it. We're not going to change what we're doing, how we're doing it, because guess what? It is all working. Why would we alter it and vary from it and start to take a sigh and deep breath and go, okay, we're here, we made it? No, that's just not how they're wired. And now, trust me, I'm wanting to get the end result over with as quick as possible, because I just don't want these guys in harm's way any more than they need to be for fear of somebody getting dinged up or anything. But I think how he handled it was really, I think he was worried, as I told you, and he admitted as much after the game. He wasn't sure how they would handle it, but I don't think he really got into, okay, you made it, now let's go do it. I think it was always, we have to win this to get in, and we're not backing into this thing, and we don't even want to play an ugly game and still win it and all that stuff. No. I think we want to play and play well, and that's what they did. And
it's vital too. You definitely did not want to be like just getting a win, slogging around.
Oh yeah,
you are trying to flex for all the reasons that we've been outlining. And I would like to thank, just personally, Coach McGuire for the 1-0 frame of mind, some Christmas decoration installation over the weekend, Chris, and a lot of questions coming at me rapid fire from the significant other early in the process. I'm still in the attic. I'm telling her, honey, just trying to go 1-0, get the box out of the attic. We'll tackle the rest of the objectives as we go. Let's go 1-0, get the Bucks out of the attic.
What's next? I love it.
Yes. That
yes.
Chris, I am curious to kind of dive in just a little bit before we get out of here on some of the other things we saw involved in this game that were just fun. I don't have any other way to describe it. Some of the names we saw mentioned as we went along. I do want to get to Lloyd Jones, a name you put on our radar, I think, over the last week or two, as far as some potential here with Mitch Griffiths and beyond. I want to get to Micah Hudson. I'd also like to get to, while we're in a flexing frame of mind, really quickly. First, today's episode brought to you by Omaha Steaks, and the holidays always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift. And Omaha Steaks makes it simple to do just that. And whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks is going to deliver handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this week is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here and the deals are huge. And every time you give Omaha Steaks as a gift, the reaction is going to be the same. Excitement when the box arrives and even bigger smiles when everything hits the grill. And you can always bank on top shelf quality with incredibly tender steaks, rich flavor, and meals that make hosting or weeknight cooking easier than ever. Honestly, it's the kind of gift that brings people together and you don't even have to guess anyone's size. So save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks this holiday season. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use our promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See site for details. Also like to get to, while we're in a flexing frame of mind, really quickly, and brushing up a resume, really putting it on and emphasizing the result against an opponent. Can I ask you about the a fourth down decision and what we saw there? Because that got my attention, and I know you're always trying to put things out there for whoever is next to also account for. But I'm wondering, did you hear anything locally from a West Virginia perspective taking issue with that? And were you surprised to see that come together that way, given the state of the game, I guess, at that point?
Well, and you have to understand the build up to this, or what situation you're in. Okay. So it's important to note that when Mitch Griffiths was inserted into the game, fairly early into it, he takes an awkward hit and he did not return. And so you're just kind of going, well, this is an interesting dynamic because you only brought three quarterbacks. You've already got the parka and the headset on one, your other one, and then Chubb is a freshman that is still raw and coming off of a ACL injury over a year ago, and has been practicing in the last 2 to 3 weeks and kind of dressing out, and was obviously earned the right to travel and all these things. And so he obviously threw some to Chubb, did to Micah Hudson. It was like, I think he was at some point, he was like 2 for 2, and both of his college completions were touchdowns to Micah Hudson. That's awesome.
Not bad.
And Micah just showing his ball skills in the end zone. I loved it. And watching the reaction from Micah's teammates to him, the older guys, we all know what a weird deal this was. The existence last year, the exit, the return, and you hadn't heard a peep from that kid. He's been under the radar, just working. He's battled through some injuries this year, trying to get back healthy. He missed some time in August and all that stuff, but he's been kind of your fourth or fifth wideout all season long, and hadn't gotten as much playing time. But he's still young, and just to see him kind of have some of these moments, I just like the way his teammates reacted there. Okay, but West Virginia was continuing to run tempo, and as I mentioned to you before, they are a heavy blitz team. Their blitz percentage is 30 or 40. I mean, this is just their identity. They're trying to force the issue because they're just not great at holding up. So it's like, screw it. Let's just and they get gashed a lot of times. It's kind of a feast or famine scenario. They're going to guess right sometimes, and sometimes you're going to get them. We kind of saw some of that yesterday. But it was 42-0, and it's fourth down, and you go for the fake punt. And I thought, oh, okay, this is something.
Yeah.
And I think some of the West Virginia media took exception. Rich Rod was asked about it after the game, and he was like, "Got him a first down. It worked, didn't it?" And I didn't gather that he took exception to it as much as media did. But here's why you're doing it. You have your backup. Well, your third string quarterback, who is now your backup, is over there and is out, and they're trying to run as many plays as possible as West Virginia. They're trying to snap the ball every 20 seconds. And you're trying to sit on the ball and like let the play clock just drip, okay? And you're very intentional about letting it get to 5 seconds or less, and then snap it. And so I think you saw an opportunity, and they kept run blitzing. They kept run blitzing you, and so I think it was just because I heard somebody on your sideline go, "I hope they don't have a problem, but maybe they'll quit blitzing," And so I think that Texas Tech was doing what was best for them and trying to get the ball back and sit on it and continue to work more clock. And also, I think you touched on something important too, just saying hello out there. Like we are, because I'm telling you're about to get into a matchup this weekend where BYU may run 1 to 3 fakes. I'd set the over/under at 1.5 on field goal, punt, onside, something. I don't know, but they're gonna empty their bucket. They may feel like they have to. I don't know, but I did like it for that reason too. But I could get why West Virginia would have been a bit irked, but I also understand the context of what you're trying to do. You're just trying to get through the game, and so you can shorten the game more by sitting on the ball than if you punt it back to them when they're trying to run as many plays as possible. So, and you've got your backups in there and all that stuff. But yeah, and shout out to Chubb. That's pretty impressive. He looks pretty quick. Throws a good deep ball. He looks different than the rest of your guys. I mean, he's a legit 6'4". That was fun to see him and Micah hook up a couple times.
Yeah, no doubt. And good on Micah for making both catches adventurous and interesting. Not that he made them that way, but they weren't just, hey, this guy's wide open because West Virginia stinks to high heaven. They were like, go make a play on sort of a 50-50 ball. And he went and did that. And yeah, Lloyd Jones was looking amazing. I have no idea if that's actually a glimpse at the future because I don't know what the roster looks like 3 months from now versus a couple of years from now. So,
or try 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, it's fun to watch them while we had an opportunity. We'll see what else we get down the road or in what uniform possibly. But that was cool. And I could not care any less as to any outrage from somebody having their pants beaten off whenever you're talking about a 4th and 1 or a 4th down decision like that. And I think the decision actually was more in West Virginia's hands because it's not like it was just a general fake where you're snapping it to the up back and whoops, here we go in the A gap. It was more so like, hey, West Virginia, you paying attention to the math? You still with us today? Oh, you're not? All right, well, we'll go ahead and take this. So it was a little bit different even, I think, than just saying, hey, we're trying to fake this. It's like, hey, you still in the game? You got a pulse? No? All right, well, we'll go ahead and convert this and move on. And I think they sort of even explained it that way on the broadcast, like, if the numbers don't line up, then this is the decision you make whenever you're in these spots. Tech has given us several interesting looks like that throughout the year. So not mad at that at all. And what is caring even less than could not caring less when it comes to West Virginia media and their reaction to this? Because that's my state of being for that. Get back to your Whitland sticks. It's going to be a long winter.
Yeah, but we did not hear Country Roads at the end of the game. And I do enjoy that song, just not after the old Red Raiders take one on the chin, and was thankful to not hear it in Morgantown yesterday. A couple of things before we get out of here, because I'm sure people are curious, and this is, I don't want to bury the lead here, but Mitch Griffiths, I'm going to surmise here. I don't know. I just don't, but he was back out there, slight limp. I think that if it was a scenario to where you had to have him, I think he would have been available to you. I think Howard Sampson, your left tackle, went to the locker room at the end of the first half and seemed to be walking fine. And I think he, obviously he came back and played. it's interesting to note what is the weird dynamic though here is that there was an intention to redshirt Cash Cleveland, and I think it was we'd only play Cash if there was something that like we really needed him and we were really trying to get out of the game and whatever. And when Howard came out, Cash came in and Jados played left tackle, and so I think Cash Cleveland has now played in his 5th game. So I don't know what that looks like, but then Howard came back in. So it was I don't know. Maybe we'll get Joey to comment on that at his press conference on Monday or whatever. But that was an interesting dynamic there. Okay, Mitch Griffiths I've talked about. Trent Lowe for next weekend is ejected later in this game. He's a special teams guy. He'll miss the first half next week. David Bailey left I saw him come out of the game at some point. This was a weird game for your edge guys because the whole point of West Virginia's scheme is QB run and to get the ball out as quick as possible. There's just not a lot of opportunities for sacks against this kind of scheme. They don't max protect and then take the deep shots down the field. Typically, it's all quick game. It's QB run. It's just regular run game in a variety of different ways, similar to Utah, I think, in the way just much different personnel. And so Height and Bailey were rotating, in and out, and they weren't playing their normal workload. Well, at one point Bailey came out, kind of flexing his hand or whatever, and I thought, okay, well, because then I see him go to the locker room. He's getting walked to the locker room, and he's not limping, and he's not doing anything with his hand, but he was just he was held out as a precaution in the second half. He was not out on the sideline though. And so I'll offer that up. But I do think the thought is that he was held out as a precaution, and that, as Joey said after the game, everybody that played in this game, we expect to play next week. And I believe you can believe that. How about that? I don't think there's any gamesmanship there or anything like that. He did offer up the caveat. Sometimes we get in a guy that comes in on Sunday and it's like, we weren't aware of that, or this bothered him in the middle of the night or whatever. And so, but short of that, I think that you're okay. But we'll put a question mark on all that stuff as we go, because the stakes continue to get higher here, man.
Correct. And we're going to have a big picture kind of episode coming up on the other side. So I hope you'll join us for that as we talk about college football playoff interests. Are we now a lock no matter what? Certainly want to talk about Arlington and looking ahead to that matchup. Did we actually get what we wanted as far as potential opponents are concerned? If you can fathom that, talking about a one-loss team, but was that with the pick of the litter matchup wise? We'll revisit that conversation coming up on the next episode, so stay with us. And of course, shout out to all those who made the trip, and thanks for letting us hear from you within the Matador Mob. Chris was getting many texts from mobsters on the scene there in a frigid Morgantown, and even got a video post-game from our guy Roger, who was blasting country roads at their tailgate with not a Mountaineer in sight. They were hanging for the long party. I'm going to say the nation's #1 song about Maryland that's ever been written. It's a great song, and certainly a great tribute to the state of Maryland. The Duchendorf Cup resides in West Texas again, Chris, until the next round of the John Denver Soul Bowl. We'll see you down the road, Mountaineers. Chris, we're going to see you coming up dead ahead, because we got big things to discuss, man. So appreciate the time as always, and we'll get to that coming up on the next one. See you then.
Hope is alive, man, and get ready and buckle up for one of the biggest weeks in your football program's history coming up. And we would not be anywhere else but right here with you all. So, and man, if you have the means, get to Arlington. You will not want to miss that.
No, the big top will be up. The 3 rings will be assembled. It's going to be a frenzied scene, no doubt. We'll be getting ready for that with you all week long on Locked On Texas Tech. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much to the everydayers for always riding along. And, of course, the Matador Mob. Hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving and an excellent, hopefully extended weekend. But we are back to big business now. On the clock, Arlington is ahead. So we'll be discussing that and getting ready for it all week long. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.